Stay a while and listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Agony of Positivity podcast. I am one of the co-hosts, Ross. The other co-host,
Saul.
Together, we just make one host. I don't think both of us can technically be considered a co-host, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
Let's see. So we are, what is today? January 16th. So you guys will probably get this in the afternoon, or apparently Wednesday is the day that everyone downloads typically. So, which I think is very strange, but because I download my podcasts daily, even if I don't listen to them. But so, how has your week been?
My week, it's been all right. Can't complain, I guess.
Oh, I bet you could.
I suppose I could complain. It wouldn't do any good, I guess.
I'm pretty sure, because I am a human being, I could win the lottery, and I could still come up with something to complain about for the week.
Oh, I guarantee you. I only had $1 million today to spend on things. I mean,
it wouldn't be the money. Money I would definitely not complain about. It'd be the other dumb stuff. Like, here we go. So mostly my week's been pretty uneventful overall. I did have the most irritating Wendy's experience I've ever had.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, I had not eaten all day. I was like, I'm going to go out. I'm going to go to Wendy's. It's like 4 blocks away, basically. Like, it's super close. And I'm going to get a triple cheeseburger. Now, that is more food than I really need, but basically, that was all I was going to eat. Like that and some fries. That was the day. Every time I order a classic triple combo at Wendy's, for some reason, they hear Big Bacon Classic.
Okay.
I don't understand how, but it happens at this particular Wendy's constantly, and it's always a source of anxiety. So I get to the drive-thru, the order place. Hey, I'd like to get the classic triple combo, just ketchup, mustard, cheese only. Now, I have to say cheese, even though I've said the classic triple cheeseburger combo, I have to specify ketchup. I only want ketchup and mustard, but if I don't specify cheese, sometimes I get it without the cheese. Seems, I would say hamburger, and I would have to specify no cheese, but it works the reverse here. So tell them the order. There's this like super, with a Coke Zero or Coke or whatever I got, medium size. So, I give them the full thing. Now I know they have their automated like answer kind of thing. Like, like no matter what, you pull up to the thing and it says something even if they're not ready or not. So I was like, okay, well, finally the girl comes on. She was like, was that a Big Bacon Classic? And I'm like, right on cue. No, the number one basically is what it is, but it's the triple. So I go over that very well, and I'm like, no, only ketchup and mustard and cheese on it. And there's like this silence, go through the size, go through the drink, and I was like, you got that with only ketchup and mustard, right? She's like, yeah. So, do you think that I believed that they had it correct at that point based on that interaction? Would you expect them to have it right with that interaction?
No.
Okay, so I get to the window to pay. So at the pay window, I'm like, hey, I just want to make sure they got that right. That's the classic triple. She's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And they got that with just ketchup, mustard, cheese. Oh, no. So she goes in and fixes it. But you've worked at food service, so like usually if something weird changes at one of the windows, you have to yell out to like the people cooking it, hey, this thing changed. I did not see that happen. So I'm like, that didn't happen. Make a note of it and be like, all right, I'm going to have to ask at the next window. Because it's not the end of the world if I get like lettuce, tomato on the burger, but I don't want the mayonnaise. I always end up with like is just such a pain. Like, I really don't care for the mayonnaise. I just want the sandwich right. So I get to the pickup window. I'm like, hey, did they get that sandwich right where it's only ketchup and mustard on it? And the guy's like, oh, yeah, we got it. I'm like, all right. So at this point, I'm like, well, it's absolutely possible. I was like, I've basically asked at every single stop humanly possible, did you get my sandwich right? I pull away a little bit so that another car can come up, even though I didn't want to. Kind of open the sandwich up and peek, so I don't see a ton of lettuce and tomato and everything. So I'm like, well, it can't be that bad. So I guess I got it right. Although I noticed that it's definitely old burger patties.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure they have like a timer for, at this point, it's done, throw it out, cook new meat. But I was definitely on the, it's the buzzer beater of the classic triple where they're like, oh, thank goodness this guy just ordered this thing because we were about to have to throw all this meat out. Fries seemed okay, but I wasn't sure. But it was just like, I'm already expecting something. Like, I don't know what. Like, I'm going to have like some weird topping on it. So I get home. I was like, they can't have messed it up. It looks fine. Bite into it. There are like 7 pickles all over the sandwich. Which, now I have no allergies to pickle or anything else. However, I've never seen that many pickles on a Wendy sandwich.
No.
There were so many, and even though I live close, it actually, like if you go to Chick-fil-A, the pickle will transfer onto the bun.
Yeah.
Like so all I taste now is pickle on my very old, not fresh hamburger meat. And then the fries were probably borderline, but as a result of being just like, give him all the pickles too. That way we don't have to throw the pickles or the meat out. So that was my big complaint for the week. I was just amazed that I ask it every single opportunity, in some cases multiple times, and they still got my sandwich wrong, and it was kind of old.
Sure.
And I'm going to tag Wendy's on this one when we put the episode up, because they'll
comment back sometimes.
Well, I don't really know what I want out of it, but it is amazing that I would ask every single person multiple times in my entire internet. Like, there's nothing else I could have done except tear the sandwich apart sitting in front of the handout window, which I don't like doing that because I know they have like timer metrics. So I'm trying not to mess their metrics up, but it's like, dude, come on. What more can I do? This is like, that's worse, I think, than when I've gone to McDonald's and gotten like a double cheeseburger with 1 piece of meat. Like, how do you miss?
I have a Wendy's near me that I avoid like the Black Plague because I've been there so many times and they mess it up. So I'm just like, I'm like, so it's blacklisted. I don't even acknowledge that Wendy's is near me.
Ours is mostly good, other than the 100% Big Bacon Classic instead of like any classic, like if I'm like, I want to get the triple cheeseburger, Big Bacon Classic. No, I want to get the the Dave's Double, the Bacon Classic cheeseburger. No, like come on. Most of the time they're good. But like this one, I think the thing that threw me over is like it was fairly busy at the time, or it felt busy. And the fact that I got like old hamburger meat, I think that made it the worst. Like combine everything, but either way, that's my complaint of just. And I know people out there probably have similar frustration.
Sure.
If you do and you want to share, we got the Twitter and we got the email. So
at the Twitter,
at the AOP Podcast on Twitter, or the AOP Podcast at Gmail. You can send us stories, or you can go to agonyofpositivity.com.
You sound like a very old man when you at the Twitter, at the Facebooks.
I mean, it's intentional, but I mean, I am an old man in a way. So I see these kids with their other weird apps like TikTok, and then they don't do their job and they're watching TikTok at the same time, and you're like, dude, stop. And then they sash you. So you were telling me you had gone to the zoo?
Yeah, so I went to the zoo because they are celebrating the Festival of Lights.
Yeah, and I had no idea the zoo was open.
I thought the festival. Well, I mean, I knew the zoo was open, but I didn't know the Festival of Light part was still going on.
Yeah,
because it's nowhere near Christmas anymore. But I guess this is the last weekend for it. So we went last night, and yeah, I think I've seen the dumbest animal in the entire zoo because I didn't see a lot of animals last night. That's the other thing. Every time I go to this thing, every time I go to because it's at night. I understand the animals are asleep. I think last night I saw a duck, a goose. Let's see.
Did you see a duck, a goose, and then it chase you?
Yes. I saw a giraffe, and then I saw snakes and bugs. So every time I go to
mostly
this thing,
things you can see in your drive to work, minus the hopefully minus the giraffe.
Well, minus the giraffe.
I mean, if you
because I don't know how your giraffe. I don't know how your drive to work is. I don't see giraffe on the way to work.
I mean, you could go. We have like the semi-famous jungle gyms.
Yeah.
I mean, you theoretically could see a giraffe there, or the flea market. I think has giraffe stand-ups.
Well, it's funny because all the animal exhibits were closed. Like you couldn't even see them like sleeping or whatever. I'm just like, well, this is just stupid. I'm just walking around in a big circle.
Well, but aren't you supposed to be festivalizing the lights?
Well, I mean, there's lights all over the place. So yes, but I'm out of the Christmas spirit right now.
You're done with the Christmas.
I'm done with the Christmas until probably I get the spirit again around like October-ish, November-ish.
The spirit comes to combat Sam Hain from Halloween.
Yes. So I'm just walking around in the big circle last night, and I seen the dumbest animal, human being, walking around, and whew.
Because I mean, just turn on the TV or look outside. Humans are pretty awful. Was there anything?
So, to use your expression, feral children running around.
Yep.
Smacking the lights, like the blow up. Not, they like little statues around everywhere that's animals lit up. Smacking them, pushing them,
just
licking them. I mean,
making a nuisance of themselves.
I did see this one little girl. She cracked me up because I was sitting on a bench because people we went with, my wife, it went into the bug exhibit, and I was like, I don't see bugs. I don't care about seeing bugs. So anyway, I sit on a bench, and they went in and saw the bugs. And this one little girl, she had to have been, I don't know, like 3 or 4. She was young, and her parents get her out of the stroller and put her on the ground. Like, okay, she's like, well, it's time for you to walk for a little bit to, get the energy out of you or whatever, which makes sense to me.
Right.
But they're walking up the hill, and I'm hearing this entire conversation, and the little girl's like, I don't understand why I have to walk when the stroller's right there. I can just ride in it.
Why we even have the stroller if I'm not going to be in it?
And the mom's like, you need to walk to get some of that energy out of you. She goes, yeah, but I don't understand why we have a stroller if I can't ride in it. I was like, this little girl is way too smart for. I mean, she, like I said, she looked like she was 4 or 5 or whatever. But she cracked me up.
I mean, it's a fair question because I can't remember like stroller age, so I don't know that ever happened to me.
Yeah,
I'm sure I was sent outside multiple times to like chill out.
Sure.
Get stung by a bee or something.
What else happened to me? I got a can of water last night, which
I'm sorry.
I wanted a bottle of water, and I guess they offered a can, and I was like, I've never had a can of water before, because I was like, well, I don't want sparkling water. I just want water. They're like, no, this is water. I was like, I've never had a can of water before, so it was interesting. Aquafina water.
did it taste like you would expect? Like, it feels like just drinking it out of the can would make it seem, whether it does or not, it would make me think it tastes different.
So psychologically, I was drinking it, and I was thinking like, okay, this one takes like a pop or like sparkling or something.
Yeah.
And no, it was water. So, but psychologically, my mind wanted to go there to like,
Yeah, that would be different.
It should have a flavor, and it was water.
Yeah, I don't think. Now, I've seen where you can get like box of water, where they have like the milk carton style, but there's water in it, and it claims to be better for the environment, but it's like $14. So,
Sure.
I mean, that could cure all kinds of ailments, and I'm not spending $14 on a box of water. Obviously, I'm exaggerating the price, but I just remember seeing it and being like, that is a lot of money for water in different container. I found this is super unrelated, but I feel like sharing. So if there's anyone listening who really likes Smart Water, it's like it's Smart Water. It's like one of the more expensive waters, and my wife really likes it, and it drives me crazy. Kroger has their Simply Whatever brand. It's got a little green circle that says Simply something on it. Their store version of water is basically Smart Water, and it's way cheaper. So there you go. Just a little service announcement. If you have someone in your life who refuses to drink anything except Smart Water.
Yeah.
So, sorry. I there's nowhere that would ever fit in. So, other than like that moment. No. But yeah, so you have your can of water. Now, is it just like a small pop can, or is it like an energy drink size can?
It's a small pop can. And I thought I remember hearing in like the beginning of the quarantine that I thought I heard that I guess the places where they make plastic water bottles, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess a lot of them had to shut down because of COVID and everything. And I thought I heard that Aquafina just switched a lot of their stuff to cans for whatever reason. I could be wrong, but I thought I remember hearing that, man. Because like the zoo had like a crap ton of this Smart Aquafina canned water.
I am looking up right now. So I see a picture of Aquafina canned water, and I was asking why water, or it also has, why is water not typically sold in cans? So some of it's the visibility of the water versus soda, packaging, shipping. Cans, while pressurized, are incredibly strong and make amazing use of storage volume and bulk. They're not nearly as strong if the can isn't pressurized. So because it's not carbonated, the can's actually weaker.
Sure.
Is canned water bad for you? What?
I'm sure it gives it like a little bit of a taste from the aluminum.
Yeah, I would think there'd be. I don't know. I mean, depending on the type of plastic, you got BPA's and all that stuff.
Sure.
Either way, it doesn't look like there's any like. No. There's nothing like Nestle is using the bones of children to make the cans. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was weird. I was like, well, I've never had a can of water, so let me try this can of water. But so anyway, I did not. It was all right. I didn't see any animals that I wanted to see.
What was there an animal that you were really hoping to, like penguins or something?
Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to see, the penguin exhibit. So I'm thinking, okay, Festival of Lights, Christmassy type stuff. No, the polar bears were locked down. The penguins were locked down. I was like, well, what in the world?
That's because they were trying to pacify the polar bears with cans of water instead of cans of Coke.
Yes.
You're
going to sell these next Christmas.
Now do that thing where you sway side to side to show happiness.
Yes. I don't know. It's just me. It's just all right.
Just all right? It's all right. Yeah, I always like the sea otter. Like, if there's a sea otter exhibit, I'll stand and watch sea otters for way too long and then think about how to steal one and make it my pet. Fill up a tub next to the bed so it can, like, sleep on its back and use rocks as tools.
Yes.
I've seen people who, I don't know if they, like, had them as a foster or a rescue or something, where they're behaving like how you would expect a pet to, but it's one of those, there's no way it's that simple. Like, dogs have generations of domestication. Kind of like when you, have you ever seen the videos of people who have like a fox as a pet?
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, that's awesome. But then you read any story and it's like, oh man, no, fox is a bad pet.
Well, we had so as a little kid, because my mom liked raccoons.
Yeah.
And we had a raccoon as a pet for a little bit. And it was neat because we would give it biscuits and gravy or whatever, in the morning. And it would take the biscuit. It would take the biscuit and go to the water dish and basically rinse. You know how they do it in the wild, rinse it off. So I guess it's just bred into them, genetically to do that. We had to get rid of it because it got too mean. So we took it out into the woods and just let it go.
Yeah, well, I mean, it probably picked up pretty well. I remember there was a quote that pops up on like Reddit or Twitter or any of that stuff, where it was like, raccoons would be perfect pets if they weren't filled with the devil's mischief.
Sure.
Like, pretty much everyone who talks about it, like, unless it's been like generations of the same raccoon family that they've had all kinds of trouble.
Well, and it's my mom, because I guess my mom's had several raccoon pets growing up or whatever.
Yeah.
And she said once they get to a certain age, they just get too mean and you gotta get rid of them.
Yeah, like release them.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, occasionally set out some biscuits and gravy for them.
Yes.
Now, would it actually dip the biscuit in gravy?
No. So we put the biscuits and gravy on it, and then they would take the biscuit. Like it's kind of like, well, why'd you put this liquid crap on there? And they would take it over to the water dish.
Okay.
And rinse the the gravy off.
Maybe because I'm around animals more than I am people. It feels like, in my mind, they were like just sitting at a chair or wherever they eat, and you give them a plate with like a biscuit and gravy, like. There's the biscuit and there's the bowl of gravy on the side, and then he'd pick up the biscuit, rinse it off, and then bring it back to the gravy. Like that's what I was thinking.
But they would do it with it. It didn't matter what you gave it them.
Yeah.
They would always rinse it off anyway because, like I said, I guess it's just part of who they are.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've seen where people will give them like cotton candy, and then it dissolves, and then they're very sad.
Sure.
I feel like that's
those
mean.
Those people are jerks.
Well, it's one thing if you did it not thinking about it.
Yeah.
But if you ever do it again, it's the worst thing ever.
Sure.
All right.
Which goes back to the dumbest animal on the earth is the humans, I think.
We are. There's so many of us. Like, there's so many humans that trying to find like a dumb person. Like, if you look at anything like dashboard cameras. Like, just how bad people are.
You cut out. So if you were talking, I didn't hear any of what you just said. So.
No, I was just saying, like, there's so many people that it's so easy to find someone who's dumb. And then I was like, for example, like dashboard cameras.
Yeah.
Like, if you ever look up dashboard camera stuff, it's absolutely depressing. Like, how bad people are at driving or the things they do.
Sure.
Which has been going on forever. We just didn't have cameras for it.
I saw this person yesterday, since we're talking about dumb people.
Yeah.
I was at a gas station by where we work,
Yeah.
And the guy works for a company that delivers packages. I ain't going to say which company it is. He was filling up gas, but I guess he didn't want to touch the gas handle,
Yeah.
Which makes sense because, they're dirty. And if you're going to try to avoid this virus, that's probably one of where you would get it at,
Yeah.
He takes his mask off and grabs the handle, fills his truck up. Which I'm like, all right, well, I guess he's just going to mask. No. He's after he gets done, the same mask that he was using as a glove, he puts it back on his face and goes inside and pays for it.
What if?
I'm like,
now,
Ross, I don't know how you're going to justify this guy, but go ahead, try.
Oh, this is going to be awesome. So, but I want to start with, now when I have to fill the diesel up, like we have like the little diesel cells, if they have like the gloves available, I don't know why, but sometimes I think people get mad at diesel and they'll take the regular gas pump and spray the diesel handle with gas. Because have you ever noticed how awful the Diesel handle is all the time?
Sure, that's true. Yeah.
So if it's Diesel, I get it, because I don't know what atrocities are committed to that thing, but they are not like the normal gas pump. Now, you saw this as someone who was trying to prevent touching something gross. I see that as someone who has a problem with huffing gas and was trying to get the smell of gasoline on their mask, and that's why they were doing it.
I guess.
Quite brilliant, actually, because I would imagine if any of the stories I've heard of working for some of those places are true, you might need that to get through the day.
Yeah. Not only have I increased my risk of getting the coronavirus, I'm also huffing gas while I'm doing it.
Well, I assume gasoline. Let's see. Does gasoline
kill the coronavirus?
False. Gasoline or diesel cannot be used to disinfect surfaces. Yeah. So
sure. So it's only going to kill your brain cells.
Yeah, but you're going to have a good time, and then you're probably a headache. I would take gasoline's probably better than spray paint, and I mean it's right there. All he's got to do is that.
Either way, it was weird and kind of grossed me out. I was like,
well, whichever purpose it's for, it's still kind of messed up.
Yes.
But yeah, no. Was it like a cloth mask, or was it one of like the surgical style masks?
Oh, it was a cloth mask.
Okay, yeah, because like the surgical, it's like they probably have like boxes of them in the truck. He'll just use the one. But yeah, to do that,
no, because I saw him, and as soon as he, took the gas pump thing and put it back on the thing, he put directly right back on his face. So I mean, it wasn't a different mask.
Right now, I'm just saying, like I could understand as a utility if you had like a box of like the throwaway surgical masks. Yeah, like I would probably end up using the mask for all kinds of things. Like, oh, need to blow my nose? I got like a box of these masks here that I'm not paying for. Here we go. But yeah, like
I need a napkin. I'll just wipe my face with it.
I mean, if it's coming from their money, who cares?
Sure.
All right. Do you want to move on? I just can't imagine, because I saw the one video where the lady picked up the dog poo with the mask.
Yeah.
Put it. Yeah. I don't know if it ever came out. I assume that was staged. Like,
who knows?
It'd be real weird for someone to be filming someone and then do that while you're like, why would you be recording them in the first place?
Another thing to add on to the zoo.
Yeah.
And then I heard our great governor every 15 minutes, it seemed like, berate me with, make sure you stay a zebra length away from the next person as you're walking through our glorious park. I was like, oh, shut up.
A zebra?
Up.
Dude,
zebra length.
What?
No, we got to make it cutesy. We got to make it cutesy and yeah.
How long is a zebra? I'm just curious. So zebras, depending on if it's a mountain or a Gervais zebra, are between 8 and 9 foot, basically.
Oh, there you go, buddy. Even more.
I mean, even if you go with like a small zebra, you're going to be safe that way. What would have been better is if it would have been like in meters. Like, stay 2 meters away.
Yes.
Like, you really don't know your target audience, do you?
No.
All right. Do you want to jump into? We have gone super long with talking about nothing this week. You want to talk about Dynamite real quick?
One could argue that's what we normally do anyway.
Yes. This one was my Wendy's rant didn't really help, so we're leaving it all in. But here we go.
Why did Britt take her shoe off to eat that sandwich?
All right. Let's see here. So, just trying to hit the big points this week. It was like night 2 of their like, what were they calling it? New Year's Smash.
New Year's Smash.
They're just gonna like put Smash at everything, like Beach Smash.
Yeah.
Christmas Smash. Yeah, they kicked off with like the Eddie Kingston and Pac match, or Pac. It was like, this is one of those things where like that entire story was built up that Pac had to win.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't view that as like, oh man, I can't believe they had Eddie Kingston lose a match. Like, nothing about that was set up where he was ever winning that particular story. Like, for that story to advance and go, like, he had to lose. But it's interesting because Kingston doesn't do any moves. Like, and I say that in a good way. Like, he keeps me interested without doing very much. It's very much like watching like early 80s wrestling.
Yeah.
Or at least for me.
I always go back to the Mountie. We'll just go back to him.
Yeah.
I don't think Kingston's as good as the Mountie. The Mountie was more entertaining and could actually wrestle, you know? So
I'm going to disagree because Mountie did a drop kick.
Yeah.
I'm done listing his moves, by the way. He did a drop kick and a shock stick. And he sang.
Kingston's a good talker. I'll give it to him. But
yeah.
I just don't like it. I don't like his wrestling. I just don't.
Right. Well, I think the point is like you want to see him get like it's going for like the you want to see him get what's coming to him kind of thing. Yeah. So, I mean he can definitely, when given the opportunity, like a bigger match on the card kind of thing, like he'll be able to carry that with his talking ability. But yeah, this like there was none of the, oh man, I wonder if Kingston's gonna win. Like I would have bet pretty much any money at poor odds that he was not gonna win that one. But it was okay. Like they're just doing something with him. So I was real curious with the next match that came up. Your boy Chuck Taylor against Miro.
Yeah.
Were you delighted to see Chuck Taylor get obliterated by Miro?
Yes. Yes. Yes, I was.
Are you happy that he's going to be Miro's butler and Miro is probably going to be very mean to him?
I could live without all that, but I mean, it is what it is.
Right. So what do you think? Like, so for this, like Miro was like, after the beginning where Chuck got a little bit of stuff in, like Miro was like super dominant. Is that more what you kind of want to see out of him, being like just a nasty beat you up person?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's what I liked about him in WWE.
Right. So getting more of that out of him where he's becoming more like a psychopath kind of, is he going in a direct, like, are you pleased with the direction it looks like he's going?
Yes.
Compared to what, at first, because I know you were like, I don't know if worried is the right word, but you were like, they're not doing what I hoped they would with him, but they're kind of turning it around.
Yeah, I mean, just get him away from Penelope Ford and whatever his name is, Kip.
I'm going to assume he's going to kill Kip on the wedding day, is my guess.
Sure.
Unless AEW is going to set the standard that weddings don't get interrupted.
Yeah.
All right, we got, so these next two things I don't want to, like, Matt Hardy doing stuff with Private Party. I just can't get into it. But there are some.
Matt Hardy has picked the most uninteresting character to go with right now. I don't understand.
There are elements to it. Like when he went on the rant previously about how much he's given to the business and people just want to like be mean to him basically.
Yeah.
There's some threads of interest there for me. But I can't get into it yet. And I mean it's enough that I like on BTE, like I'll fast forward it.
Sure.
So it's definitely a miss for me at this point. I try to listen to some of it just to see if there's going to be a switch in, like something that'll get me interested where I don't initially care. Because occasionally that'll happen. But yeah, we got more Inner Circle stuff. I have no idea what they're doing with the Inner Circle.
The Inner Circle to me now just feels like this. You remember when Kurt Hennig came up with that stupid
Rapist Crap group?
whatever that cowboy group is. I mean, it just feels like
something along those lines.
I mean, and you look at it, and so this is exactly how I feel when I was watching that group. I'm like, so you have a really good wrestler, and he's in a terrible storyline. I just feel like that's how the Inner Circle and Chris Jericho is. I'm just like, this is just, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Jericho decided that now that they got like other groups kind of coming up, that they can kind of get rid of the Inner Circle. But he was like, well, I don't want to just break it up. I want to actually make it realistic where the group kind of tries to stay together and it just doesn't work and it finally comes to a head kind of thing. I could see doing it and be like, oh, we can get, a few weeks out of this while we let everybody else get built up and we can figure out what we're going to do next or how we're going to fit in. I mean, there were some funny moments from it. Like Hager just screaming championships made me laugh.
Well, like, what would be good is you keep building up Kenny Omega's faction, whatever they're going to call it. I don't know. And if you're, because realistically, I don't think we're going to get the Bullet Club versus the Elite. Right? You should have Kenny Omega's group fight the Inner Circle. That would be entertaining. Right,
and let them just dominate them or something like that, maybe.
Or whatever, however you would write that. Just have them do gang war with each other.
Right.
A little bit. I don't know.
I don't know. I think at this point, like, Inner Circle feels like it's on the downswing to where they're going to, like, break people off or whatever. Which is fine. Like, I think at this point, like, Santana and Ortiz would do fine on their own. Sammy will be fine on his own. Jericho, MJF. Really, the person who's going to suffer out of the whole thing would probably be Hager. Truth be told, if they all went their separate way, he's going to have a rough go, I feel like. I could be wrong. That might be like what maybe Inner Circle is the problem for him, even though it's good for everybody else. We get like a funny joke about Sammy and Hager using the name Sammy Hager, which is fine. But yes, basically we're going to get like this big crazy tag team challenge. So hooray. I just don't know what to like. I held out hope for them longer than you did, obviously. But yeah, I don't know what they're doing.
I don't know either.
We got some Dark Order where they basically said they're going to try to be better people. Hangman's still kind of hanging out with them, and they're trying to. He's going to let them know after next week, and then the match that they're having is against. I just can't imagine them losing this match. So maybe we're going to get like Dark Order with Hangman as I don't know the leader, but like an influence within the group. We'll see. All right. So the entire week they're building up like the big match with Kenny Omega and the Elite in action, but they never once called them the Young Bucks. So I was waiting for something. So this wasn't like the biggest, like it was too obvious that they weren't mentioning the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically like they totally just cold shoulder. I don't know, ghost. I don't know how you would call it. The Young Bucks and Anderson and Gallo come out.
Yeah.
Well,
I think.
Were you surprised by that, or did you kind of pick up on how that was being presented throughout the week?
Well, I didn't think that the Young Bucks would be part of it because Nick, I thought his leg is hurt or something.
Might be. I know Matt had some issues, and Nick had something, but yeah, I don't know. Like I was just curious what they were going to do with it, but yeah.
Yeah,
so you weren't like totally surprised either.
No, because like I said, I swore I read somewhere that Nick has like a bruised leg or something like that. So I was like, well, how's he going to wrestle?
Right. I mean, he could just stand on the.
I wasn't shocked.
Right. I did like when Anderson and Gallows came out, they didn't play any music because why would AEW have their music ready?
Sure.
So whether it like was that much thought put into it, I don't know, but it was nice because it worked. So yeah, I thought So it's kind of the fact that they are definitely Impact guys. I really was expecting this to just be a squash match, like super quick and over. But it ended up being like, I don't think anyone thought the Varsity Blondes and Danny Limelight were going to beat these guys, but they let them look pretty good throughout it. Brian Pillman Jr. has the best knee pad look in the entire company.
Sure.
So something about like that style with the sleeve and then like the shorter poofy one. I like that look.
Now, Brian Pillman Jr., do you hope that he kind of goes down the road that as far as characters go, that his dad went, or do you want to do his own character?
Like where he's a little bit deranged? Or...
See, and that's funny with the Brian Pillman character. I don't know what you would call that character, because the closest thing I could think of is like the Joker.
Yeah.
I mean, because he was just, you didn't know what he was. You didn't know good guy, bad guy. He was just out there.
Right. I think, like, because I remember watching Pillman when he, like, first started and he wore, like, the Bengals tights and they talked about how he played for the Bengals and all that stuff. And so, you know, being from the area, or that, like him teaming with Z-Man Zinc or whatever it was. So I remember more of like super good guy Brian Pillman than I do of like towards the end Brian Pillman. Because there was like the middle part where he was like the loose cannon kind of thing. Like in WCW and then in ECW. Like I didn't really catch that. Like I didn't have cable at the time, so there wasn't a way for me to see a lot of that. And his WWE run, because like the ankle injury and stuff, just kind of didn't leave much of an impression other than he had a good look. But I would assume that Pillman Jr. will just kind of do his own thing. But if he like played in occasionally to some tendencies of, I'm gonna say being like psycho, like not like super side, but like he's a little unstable from time to time. Like just like a real subtle flavor, not like that's the character, but when it's necessary. I'm assuming that, I mean, he's not bad at wrestling. I'm assuming over time he will become like at least upper mid card probably. Like you can get some situations where maybe there's like a meaner or a more aggressive side or something that'll come out of him. To where, you know, it's more like, oh, that's just kind of in his blood kind of thing. But I don't think that should be the focus. That would be my thought. But yeah, let me see here. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's cool to see the Impact, like 100% there's like something going on with Impact that'll be big. So I think they have their pay-per-view tonight. I might try to find a way to watch that. Where it just magically shows up on my screen somehow. Like sometimes you just click buttons and things happen. Moxley comes out. So yeah, they win with the worst finishing tag team move on the planet Earth, the Magic Killer. Moxley comes out and basically is getting the crap kicked out of him because it's 3-on-1. Like that's not gonna work. I guess it took me a minute to put it together as to why the Lucha Bros came out, but
I didn't understand why the Lucha Bros came out.
Because last week Kenny was going to try to finish, because they held Penta. And then basically, I don't think Moxley came out to save Phoenix last week, but inadvertently he came out and it saved Phoenix. So I assume that someone wrote that somewhere, because I was trying to figure it out, and like it never occurred to me that because I didn't view Mox coming out to save Phoenix, but inadvertently he did. So maybe they have beef with him from trying to hurt Phoenix. So like that's fine. But yeah, I didn't get it immediately. Like, so I missed that one, and maybe they said it on commentary and I just didn't hear it. But I'm assuming Moxley and the Lucha Bros are going to fight them at some point. What a weird pairing that is.
Yes.
Because I think you were talking about, I expected some Impact guys to maybe show up.
Yeah.
To help him out. But then, so they fight out, clear the ring. Young Bucks came out. I thought they were going to kick Moxley.
I did too.
But the Lucha Bros were like, you know what? We don't like the Young Bucks either, so they kicked them. And then, speaking of worst things in wrestling, the waiting room is awful. I think it's supposed to be bad.
Yes.
I will say Jade, like her previous outings, her speaking was not very fluid. Much better. Other than I just wanted this whole thing to end. Like, holy moly.
Yeah, that's
like,
all I can say. Is...
Like, I had gotten up before it and used the bathroom, and I was like, man, I wish I would have waited till now.
Well, on Instagram, I hear people talk, so she advertises the waiting room all the time, and people are like, I love this segment. I'm like, and I'm thinking, are you watching the same thing I'm watching? Because
well, I mean, it's like Trainwreck bad, and I think it's supposed to be that way, but I just don't like that kind of stuff, so it doesn't work for me. Like, because there's no way that they know that it's like over the top bad. They have to, and there are people who enjoy that kind of stuff.
Maybe they don't.
I think they do. Like, it's too over the top, to me at least. There's no way they don't know. And they know that there's going to be people like me who hate it. So, and since she's supposed to be a bad guy, although I did like the sparklers. I thought that was pretty funny.
But to be fair, I never liked the Piper's Pit. I never liked Jericho's whatever. I don't like that stuff. I never have.
I very seldom like... I mean, I'm a big fan of Miz, but I don't care for Miz TV most of the time. Like, those segments just never land for me. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so I'm kind of like you. Like, there's about super zero chance I'm going to like this. But it being over the top bad just makes it hard for me to watch.
Sure.
Because I don't, like, humor wise, that also doesn't work for me. But, I mean... You don't want Tony Schiavone interrupted every time you need to advance a story. So you got to do something.
What do you think about it? Because out of all the years of wrestling, what has actually been noticeable of those type of segments?
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels, Marty
well,
Jannetty.
More so when Marty Jannetty tried to escape Shawn Michaels through the window and failed.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know.
There's that. Ones that I can think of that are notable. That probably the biggest, I would think. You had when Undertaker locked Ultimate Warrior in the casket.
No.
That is.
Well, I guess the most memorable is, I don't know if it was a segment, but that dude that came out in WCW that everyone makes fun of. He couldn't go through the brick. He couldn't go through the wall. He fell.
Shockmaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole incident.
I don't know if that was a Piper's Pit type thing, but
yeah, that was just like the sit down interview kind of thing. But yeah, like there's that one. One that stuck out to me was Earthquake on Brother Love when he crushed Hogan.
Yeah.
For a while. But, like, when I think real hard, like, those are the three, like, that set style interview thing that really stick out to me.
Sure.
I'm sure there's others here and there. But, yeah, like, generally, like, it's just kind of advancing it, and it's, like, in the middle.
Yeah.
All right. So, Marco Stunt gets beat up by FTR is basically what I saw.
Yes.
That was pretty sweet. No complaint there. Moving on. Serena Deeb, the NWA champion, against Tay or Ty. I can't figure it out because her and Anna's tag team is Tay J, but I hear a lot of people call her Ty.
Yeah.
So I have no idea.
I don't know.
Either way, basically kind of like a back and forth match, but Serena wins. Kind of figured she would, but nothing bad. She did. Tay did like the crazy throw series over and over, where you're just like, please stop. That looks like it hurts. All right, main event is Darby Allin against Brian Cage. This match was fairly crazy, I would say.
Sure.
Most notable, I would say the gorilla press to the outside through the table.
Yeah.
Was probably, to me, that looks like it was executed exact, like when they're like, yeah, I want you to, when Darby's like, okay, I want you to pick me up and throw me about 10 feet onto this table, and it's going to break. I'm not going to slide off it to the side. Nothing weird's going to happen. And the table's just going to explode. Like, I feel like it happened almost how you would exactly want it to happen.
Sure.
Thank goodness, because there was a chair sitting there that looked like it could have been a problem. Like the way the table broke, and
Darby Allin would have enjoyed it.
Yeah, it would be like, oh, that made it even better. I have a rib sticking out of my skin. So Darby got a little busted open on that, one way or the other. All right, we are back. Probably my internet sucks today. I don't know. Seems to be the most likely issue. But yeah, so what I was saying before you lost me, I think, is we were talking about like the gorilla press into the table, where it went about as well as you could want it to go.
Sure.
And then what I was starting to wonder is, because I'm pretty sure he had to blade to get the blood. Do you think there was a decision where he was like, do I want it to be on the normal side of the face or the face paint side?
I don't know if Darby thinks that.
I guarantee you he does. I guarantee you, if you could ask him, I bet he spent about 10 minutes thinking about it.
Sure, yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Because, like, which one's going to be the better visual? You got to figure he's does film stuff. So,
yeah.
Long-term effects of that, not thought about. Would be my guess.
Sure.
But yeah, so I mean,
I know one thing. When Sting came out, and he hit Starks, it looks like he hurt him. It looks like he actually hit him hard.
Like for like the actual swing to the midsection.
Like when he, because doesn't he like go for the guy, like go for Starks' throat with the bat, like by holding it?
Yeah, I think he like did that, and then he like took a swing at him, like in the midsection.
Yeah. So like the first when he like jabbed him in the throat, it looked like he actually jabbed him in the throat. Or Starks is just a really good actor. I don't know.
It could be a combination. It could be Sting was a little amped up because it's the first time he's doing anything physical. It put a little too much on it.
But Sting is like the luckiest wrestler in the world. We want you to come out and not really do a lot and just look cool. Got it.
Be like, you know what? I'm super good at that particular thing.
Sure.
Be like, I did that for an entire year once.
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
And then for some reason, I wasn't allowed to beat Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
Let's see here. Yeah, so like end result is after like the whole Sting thing, because like basically like Cage just obliterated Darby throughout the match, but Darby's basically did like the Muhammad Ali approach, where he was going to just absorb everything and try to make Cage angry to where he messes up. So he'd kick out at one, and like at first like it amused Cage, and then he just gets super unhappy, starts flipping him off. Like he does the power bomb from the outside to the inside thing, or inside out, I mean, which is probably my favorite move that he does. I'm sure he's campaigning that if they ever go back to live shows to have the platform. Like, dude, that's like one of my things now. I need that.
Sure.
But yeah, he basically gets like Well, so when he did the coffin drop onto the steps,
Yeah.
I was worried that Cage was going to move and he was just going to eat the stairs with it. I was seriously sitting there like, please don't move. There's no need to do that. And when I saw him only on the second rope instead of the top, I was like, oh, he's about to eat those steps.
Sure.
But then he hit it, and I was like, oh, thank goodness.
Cage, I want to destroy my back tonight. Can I let me do it? Okay.
Then, like, midway, he's like, man, I just can't let you. Yeah, so, like you were saying, Starks try to get involved. That leads to Sting coming out. Basically, Darby catches him with, like, a crazy, kind of like a crucifix bomb off the ropes. That's what they call it here on, like, the official recap, was a crucifix bomb, and got the pin. Yeah. So whatever, Darby and Sting are going to do something in some way, whether it's a tag team or not.
Yeah.
I mean,
which makes sense.
It's unfortunate that Cage lost, but I didn't expect him to win. But yeah, he just keeps losing the big matches. Yeah. Like, he needs to, like, hang out on Dark, crushing people for a while, and then come back and do something significant.
He's just like Archer. Archer's the same way.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. I don't get it.
And it could be that he's fine with that, or maybe he has an injury that he's going to be out for or something. I don't know.
Tony Khan's booking is suspect at the very least.
At times, yeah. Well, I just don't know what Cage is very good, but because there's some people where it's like, well, it's not their time, and they're doing stuff on Dark, or they're doing like little things here and there, but he just keeps going for like titles or big matches and then losing. It's like, okay, there needs to be a payoff somewhere for this, or otherwise it's just awful. And like you said, like Archer, they've basically had him not really do matches for a while, kind of rebuilding him a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. So we'll see what happens.
The point of, like, you know, I think you're building these characters up. It's going to be like how the Big Show is. If the Big Show joins you on your team, he's going to betray you. It's just how it works.
Whereas as it is now, like if Cage is in a big match, he's going to lose.
Yeah. So.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, for me, there's still more hits than misses. I think of Retribution on the WWE side, where I just don't understand that whole faction at this point. Because now, even though they're a group that wants to destroy WWE, some of the members will defend WWE on social media. It's like, but I thought you guys want WWE to fail. Or now, like, it hurts.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
Roman Reigns is still awesome over there.
Sure.
Looks like Shinsuke Nakamura might be face again, which is good, because I don't know why they made him a bad guy to begin with, other than for...
So I haven't watched WWE in a couple months. Did I see Goldberg's back?
So, oh my goodness. So I didn't watch the clip because I just can't... I was not a Goldberg fan when Goldberg was popular, because I felt like he had no... Like, I was the epitome of work rate guy. Yeah. Like, work rate fan. So obviously I'm not going to be a fan of Goldberg. Because, like, literally I feel my individual as a human being, if you threw me in a wrestling ring, I would have better work rate than Goldberg right now at out of shape 40-year-old. I would not have the look of Goldberg, but as far as like a technical match, I'd have more faith in myself than Spear Jackhammer. Now, would people care about it? Absolutely not. But never a fan of him. So when he comes back, I'm not really watching too much. But I guess he came out and talked about and confronted McIntyre about not having respect for legends or something. But literally, the feud he just had with Randy Orton, he was hanging out with the legends and fighting kind of in their honor.
Sure.
Like with Flair and HBK and Big Show and those guys.
Yeah.
And he hasn't turned into a bad guy since then. So I don't know what like. And when I read like recaps of it, that's basically what they were all like. They're like, that doesn't make any sense as to what's going on.
That line would be more for Roman Reigns, I would think, than McIntyre.
Well, or maybe Randy Orton, the Legend Killer. Like,
sure.
So yeah, so I guess who knows? Like, let me look here. Yeah, you're making me go to WWE.com. I basically watch like the Reigns stuff, and then that's the end of it.
Sure.
Let me see here. WWE Goldberg. Goldberg versus Drew McIntyre. What is going on with that? Betting odds have been released. Yeah, so I guess Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't. Why? Like, why is this happening?
Yeah. Sure.
I have no words. Because he beat The Fiend. Like, are you going to have him beat McIntyre? Like, McIntyre has to win, right?
I don't know. When it comes to WWE's booking, I think it's worse than AEW's. I don't know.
Yeah, it 100%. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts to me about that. There are certain people that WWE are very good with. But even then, like, Randy Orton set a man on fire.
Sure.
And then suggested the Mandalorian to people. So I just don't know.
Sure.
Yeah. So all right, we got that. Yeah, so I guess the big thing will be see what happens on the Impact's pay-per-view. Like, I assume something big will happen there, but we'll have to see. Let's see here. We'll move on into that. I had wanted to. How are you on time?
We could do maybe 20, 30 minutes, I guess.
Okay.
If we have that much to talk about.
It may not be that long, but I'd kind of like to talk about it. Let me hit. We'll do this guy since it's going to be. I mostly have Warcraft to talk about here, so.
Covered, and there's so much more.
All right. So I have played a ton of Shadowlands recently, due to stuff that happened. Now you ended up switching back to Warrior and got to 60.
Yeah.
So now that was after, because we had talked one day at work, and you were playing Fury, but you switched over to Arms.
Yeah.
And then that made it actually worthwhile to play.
Yeah, because I just kept dying as Warrior or as Fury.
Yeah. Well, and like I leveled as Fury and I did okay. But I think because I was leveling sooner than you, there were still lots of people out. So killing stuff, like I could just whirlwind everything and kill it.
Tag it.
Yeah. But once I got to level cap, I was trying to be stubborn and stick with Fury.
Yeah.
I knew that Fury was not as good as Arms, but Fury, I enjoy kind of like the rotations or like the like Whirlwind gives your single attacks, like it'll hit multiple things and stuff like that. Like I find Fury more fun, like it's more enjoyable from a attack thing, but the damage difference, especially before like the buff to Fury, was just insane, like how much stronger Warrior was. And like even though Fury has like a lot of survivability, because you got like I think it's Bloodthirst, and then you got like Victory Rush, like you got things that'll give you health back as you go, but it takes forever to kill anything. Whereas Arms, you like, I don't know, my experience is like with Arms, I just like 3-shot stuff most of the time.
Yeah.
Is that what you were coming across once you switched, or?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. And then you were saying, did you go Bastion or for your Covenant?
Bastion, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Bird people.
Yes. Weird.
Bird butler.
Yeah. Weird, evil Uther bird people.
Yes.
Yeah, I have no idea what happens on their story. I assume that there's like Uther's involvement. Because I just did Vinthier. I hang out with Kael'thas at one point. But yeah, it gives war like Condemn is just so strong. Yeah, but when I finally just gave up on Fury was Torghast.
Yeah.
Just the regular, like not Twisting Corridor, but just the regular Torghast runs, like level 3 and up with Fury, was just taking forever. Like it wasn't even fun. Like it would take forever to kill stuff. I never failed one, but it just felt awful.
Yeah.
And then I switched to arms, and once I it took me a couple floors to like kind of get the rotation and priority and like learn all my cooldowns, since I haven't touched arms in well over 2 years probably. It was just so much better. Some of the powers are better. Like with Condemn or Execute or whatever, like you can get like the knockdown and you can just spam it. So you basically just hit one button over and over. It's pretty strong. It's made Twisting Corridor a lot easier for me. So once you switched and got him through, did your other character even get to level cap?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've gone two times to 60?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you do the Threads of Fate for the Warrior?
Yes.
Did it feel like that was way longer to you?
It did. Well, maybe. See, I've been playing sporadically. Because I normally don't start playing World of Warcraft a lot until everyone else is burnt out on it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I've been playing it sporadically, but it does seem like the Threads of Fate takes a little bit longer.
That's what most people have said.
Yeah.
And like my mage is still stuck at level 51 because I just can't be bothered to even start it. So I don't know. Like I wish I could go back and just pick the story mode.
Yeah.
Because that is, if you like rush through that pretty quickly and do a few of the side quests, you're just done with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And it could just be that I'm just not into the range class as much, but
you're a very fickle player. So.
Well, I mean, the first thing that got me into actually playing WoW, where like I committed to playing any at all, was the gladiator stance that they did in Warlords of Draenor. And I was like, oh, all right, this is going to be great. And then it was like, patch 1.1, here's a selfie camera. I was like, all right, I'm done with this. We'll see what happens on the next expansion. But then they took that away, and for whatever reason, I lost my mind about not being able to travel where I wanted to. And finding out about mages and their portals, I was like, oh, this is the best thing ever.
Sure.
But now that it basically like that, the ease of transportation with the mage made me stuck as a mage almost no matter what. But as more expansions come and go, you get more and more teleport options. So now I'm not stuck to the mage.
Sure.
And now it's like, well, I can be a warrior. Like I was initially Dark Iron with my warrior.
Yeah.
Just because of the mole machine. But now I switched him to just being a human because I have the Borealis teleport, all kinds of Stormwind teleports, Dalaran Hearthstone, Current Hearthstone. You got the wormhole generator for Shadowlands, which is the greatest thing ever. So like, there's all these transportation options that are super easy to get you to like portal hubs. I don't feel stuck as a mage now. So
Sure.
I kind of miss range because every other mob in this expansion jumps behind you.
Yes.
And it's awful.
Sure.
But let me see. So how far have you jumped into? Because a lot of people have complaints with Torghast about just not liking it.
See, I play Torghast. I kind of like it. So.
Yeah. I guess the most common
Way of
complaint...
playing WoW.
Huh?
It's just a different way of playing WoW.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people complain that there's not like a ton of reward for it. So they feel that their time is wasted, I guess.
You're building up your legendary. How's it not?
Right. Well, and that's like I was listening to a podcast this morning while I was eating breakfast. And they're like, oh, you go through 4K and you get nothing for it. But to me, so like this week, I still have one of the sides to do, but I did layer 8 with my warrior solo, and I got like the 500 soul ash or whatever you get for that.
Yeah.
So I have another one to do. I've gotten whatever it is, like you get like a transmog item from Twisting Corridor. Now, Twisting Corridor, you're basically grinding that to get the mount. Like that's really the purpose of it that I see at this point in time. Which if you want a mount that you can use in the mall reliably, that's going to be one of your ways to get it. So I feel I've done way worse to unlock something. Like currently, I switched back over to engineering to get that wormhole generator and a couple things. But I'm trying to get some of the old stuff, and I spent 3 hours mining Serenite in Ice Crown last night because I'm trying to get back up to where I can have a Jeeves. Now, funny about that, because there's an auto hammer item that does the repair. There's the Molly toy that gives you an extra mailbox along with like the Katie stamp whistle. And then I was looking at how much Serenite sells for, and I was like, well, I could try to get Jeeves, but these things basically take care of the reason I would really want Jeeves, and I'm sitting on like 30,000 gold of Serenite. I'm just going to sell the Serenite and see what happens. So I will probably not be getting Jeeves, but I might go mine some more Serenite if mine sells. Because I had no idea Serenite was that expensive in the bar form. Now, I mean, it is fair. Like, you can't just make a bar of Serenite. Apparently, you got to mold it into a coffin and put a skull on it or something, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I don't think any other bars have, like, that weird shape to it that I saw. Like, I just noticed. I was like, why is this one different?
That's why it costs so much.
I guess so. But, like, yeah, like, the amount of work I put into that is... And if I was to go all the way to get the Jeeves at this point, it's probably quicker to get the Torghast mount.
Probably.
Although Twisting Corridor is long. And I guess the complaint is if you fail, like if you get to the final boss and you fail, man, did you waste a lot of time. And you got literally nothing. So I can see, I don't know. Like, but yeah, like, that's the big complaint, but you're not really, you don't look at it that way. Because you're building, like you said, you're building your legendary. So if it was like, hey, you got to go through this many times to get, and like on the 10th time you get a pair of legendary gloves, people would be doing that without complaint, you think?
Probably.
If it was, because it's basically what it is, but if it was phrased differently, I think you're right. Basically, like, it is building your legendary. So I know. Now, once you get your legendary and you have enough to like do it, it's either you keep doing it so you can make additional legendaries, or you're done with it. Do you think you'll like keep up with it somewhat regularly so you can have additional legendaries, or?
I don't know, because eventually they're going to do a catch-up mechanic.
Yeah, where it's like super easier.
Yeah.
Super more easier. Super most more easiest. Yeah, I kind of want to get, for the warrior, there's one where you get extra charges of heroic leap. I wouldn't mind having that as a secondary one to equip from time to time, like on my run fast set.
Sure.
Which is the worst. I gotta say, one of the worst things I've ever done to myself was on the last expansion, make that speed gear, where because without all the bonuses, I still run 130% for speed.
Yeah.
That 30% is massive, especially like running around like your Covenant house or Old World. So I am forever set with one of my bags is basically that extra gear set.
Mm-hmm.
And I only play a DPS spec. Like, if I was playing like tank and DPS or healer, like, I expect to have kind of some different gear. But just for the movement speed, it makes me very sad.
Sure.
So I will always have that. I will always have to. Anytime I get new gear, I got to go in and remember to fix it. It's like a curse.
Sure.
Let's see. Have you gotten any of the rare mounts or anything that like really like or toys that stick out to you?
Nope. Not really.
I think my favorite thing I got is there's one of the bosses like Borgast or something in the mall.
Yeah.
Like he's one of the rares that's like right by where you come into the mall. He drops a toy that shoots you like 50 feet up into the air.
Yeah.
And then you can like glider from it. It's pretty sweet.
It's weird because I have to get in the right mindset to do all that stuff. I'm just not there right now. I
search.
want to get that one horse Bleachy or Bletchy or whatever.
Blanchy? Yeah.
I want to get that. I just can't be bothered to do it. I don't know.
But like I gotta log in for potentially 20 minutes a day.
It just I don't know. I have to be in the right mindset to do that type of stuff.
Right. Well, I mean, that's like I'm so far behind on mall rep. I mean, theoretically I'm probably behind on all the reps, but comparatively, like the mall, I do the least. And there's no way you're not gonna have to have that dude maxed out to get flying at some point in a year and a half from now.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I'm in the mall, it's like they if they were going for like a despair hellscape, they nailed it because I feel despair when I'm in there. It's like, this is just being here is just awful.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. So
like it's the epitome of good bad game design. Like you've made a zone that I just hate, but I have no choice but to do it.
Sure.
So I don't know, but yeah, like I barely touched. Like I've maxed out like my Covenant gear, like where you can do the upgrade as you do the story or whatever.
Yeah.
I have all that except for my legendary slot maxed out, so it's like 197 gear or something like that. Because I'm not even really doing LFR too much. Like my one experience with LFR broke me. I figure I'll wait a while and when people are more familiar with the mechanics. Because like I'll watch a video and then go into it, so I actually know what I'm doing. But the people on that first fight with the hunter guy, where he's got like the dogs, it broke me like that one night. I haven't been able to do it again since. It's like man, you can tell people like, hey, don't hit this ad. Okay, I'm gonna go hit that ad. Great, thanks. That's exactly what we wanted.
It goes back to how we begin the podcast of dumb animals at the zoo.
Well, so this is not super WoW related, but it is. Like we've played enough video games with like other people and see how like people we don't know play the games. Like, why are people like it? Literally, there will be fights in this game that it's like, hey, whatever you do, we need to kill this thing first, and it'll be like. Some giant skull creature, and then there'll be like some little like humanoid creature, or it's like, hey, attack the big one, make sure not to hit the small one, and then you'll separate them to where it's almost impossible to hit them both at the same time, and you will still have people hit the wrong one.
Sure.
How?
They're stupid.
And it's one thing because like I'm sure there's people who have like chat turned off when they're playing games like this, but they'll respond like, hit the big one only, got it, and then they still won't do it right, and there's nothing to indicate that they're being a troll about it and like purposely messing up. They just, it's like, I don't understand how. Like,
I don't know.
Like, is it like younger or older people than us that just didn't grow up with video games and don't understand it?
I have no.
You need to give me an answer. We're not ending this thing until you tell me exactly why.
I don't know, man.
Well, if you're one of
because I often ask the same thing. I'm just like, whatever.
Well, much like for the Wendy's thing, if you have your drive-through stories, if you're one of those people who, even though you say, yes, I know not to hit this, and then you, for whatever reason, continue doing the wrong thing after you've said you know that it's wrong, let us know why.
They're not going to admit it because they probably know why they do it.
They don't realize that they're wrong. Be like, well, everybody else needs to hit that. This one's just for me.
We work with a guy who's like that.
Well, yeah, fair.
I mean, they're oblivious or they don't care. I don't know.
I mean, maybe they just forget. It's like that dude from Memento. If they don't write it down in pencil in their handwriting, they'll never know. And then all of a sudden they think they've murdered somebody. What's that?
The last job we did that, where the guy put a paddle where we're scraping the medicine in a bowl, and he left the paddle inside the bowl. And when we put it in the oven, I was like, "Did you take the paddle out?" Oh, maybe, I don't know. I was like, "What do you mean? You don't know?"
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you're right. Yeah. So imagine a giant cake bowl, and you have like a giant spatula, and you have to go around, like you've baked your cake for a few minutes, but for some reason it's a weird cake where you gotta scrape the edges of the pan. So you do that, and then you leave your spatula on top of the cake, and then put it back in. Like that's basically what happened. It gets hot enough that you can't do that.
Yeah.
And then you throw out like, hundreds of pounds.
Like, if that melts, it's like if if that melts, it's going to mess the whole batch up. No, I think I got it. I don't know. It's like they just don't care, or they're just I don't know, dumb.
Right. Well, in that scenario, it's like there's one of those things. How about you walk back in the room and see if it's hanging where it should be? If it's not, we still got time to stop things, even though it'll be a pain in the butt, and avoid a complete disaster and everybody getting yelled at.
Sure.
Oh man, people.
Just like, yeah, I don't know.
Terminator times.
I think on that note, we should end the podcast.
Me wishing for the Terminator to show up and find John Connor and stop us all. All right, everybody, we will be back probably next week. That's all.
Same Ross time, same Ross channel.
Yes. Sure, that works. Here we go.
I couldn't say back because that's trademarked.
Technically. Outro.